Hello, and welcome to another Saturday food support group. We have these Zoom meetings every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I just invite people to come and to share their stories because I've had so many people reach out to me in private messages and tell me their stories. And I just couldn't keep it for myself. I had to share with you all of the beautiful things that are happening when people break their addiction to sugar and carbs and processed food. And they get their brains back, they get their bodies back, they get their lives back. And they're just so excited that they can't wait to tell. And so I informed everyone that I would be recording these meetings, and I encouraged them that if they wanted to remain anonymous, that they can turn the camera off. But a lot of people they want to share. They want to share what has happened to them, and they're so excited about their new life. And then I also open it up for questions. If people are still struggling and they're still on this journey, that they can come and ask questions. But if you need more individualized care than just in a group like this, feel free to email me at innerclaritysystem@gmail.com, and I'll walk you through what it looks like to work with me one-on-one. All right, thanks. I hope you enjoy the group. Hello. Happy Saturday, everybody. We have another Saturday food support group, and today we are finishing part 2 of Nate's story. So Nate, go right ahead.
Okay, well, I've noticed a few new faces. I don't know, should I give a quick summary of?
No, they'll be able to watch the replay from last week.
Okay, so to pick up from where I left off then, I had just moved from my terrible, crappy ghetto apartment in Indianapolis to this wonderful new house. This gentleman was very well-to-do. He became my housemate. He was the owner. And I was getting back into the swing of things, recovering from my second stroke, learning new things about diet and everything like that, continuing on from where I had left off. Well, with a new attitude, new go forth and get 'em attitude. And, I was, got a new vehicle, started a new job. Everything was wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was a drastic uplift. And then, I started going on my new job, new vehicle, getting my business going because I'm starting a business for musicians and doing their marketing and photography and film and all the creative things. And while I was in the middle of that, I started walking a lot, and my leg was going numb randomly, which I thought it was left over from the first stroke. I had some spasticity where it would lock up, and all the muscles would tense up every once in a while, totally out of my control. Doctors couldn't do anything about it. So I had found out previously that I had atherosclerosis. So, I knew of all these things. That's why I was working on my diet. And, I started getting this numbness in that leg. And, I thought it was just finally the spasticity, locking that leg up and locking everything up, closing off all the arteries every now and then. And, go to the doctor. He says, well, this is neuropathy. And there's not much that they could do about it. So I just went on walking and, walking butters and moving on and really progressing. And, I'm, sliding off my diet, slight bits here or there because of my roommate. He loved to eat. I don't know where he's at right now. He's been doing intermittent fasting, but he was overweight. And
what kind of things were you eating at that point, Nate?
Okay, at that point, I was eating hamburger, and vegetables. I'd
Hamburger
eat
with the
some
bun
chicken.
on?
No bun, no, just the hamburger,
Oh,
just
okay.
meat with a little bit of veggies, frozen veggies. And I was doing grocery delivery, so I would get a little snack here or there of some nuts. I would get, what I thought to be healthy keto because it said keto on the package.
Yeah. So deceiving.
Yes. And I drink kombucha and water. I love water. That was a big part of my what I would drink. Actually was able to get somehow reverse osmosis water. So I think I'm doing good for my diet with just little minor slip ups here or there. Occasionally go out to eat, have a standard American diet meal.
With like
And
carbs and bread and stuff.
like Mexican,
Okay.
with the carbs, yeah,
With the
tortilla chips,
tortillas. Got it.
yeah, and eating the nightshades because they love their peppers and
Tomatoes. Yeah.
and so I was just going along doing fine. One morning, I just wake up and I go do my usual thing, go down for breakfast, and sitting there and I noticed something. There's something really weird. There's like this dark patch area in my vision just floating there. I'm like, that's not normal. My roommate said, you should probably call your doctor about that. So I called my doctor and he said, no, I think you may have had a stroke. You need to go get an MRI. What? And I couldn't go to the hospital to get an MRI because COVID is in full swing and, it's doing what it's doing. And, so I have to make this special appointment off, out of a hospital. It's just a little, private unit. So I go and go there and got to wait a few days for the results. And sure enough, I had a third stroke.
Good grief.
Yeah. I mean, and so soon after I moved into this new place, I moved in December of 2020, and it was about May that I had the stroke at the beginning of May. It was just a year past my second stroke, and or almost a year too. It was just under a year. My second stroke was May 28th or 29th. This one was May 7th.
Okay.
So didn't make it a full year before I had my third stroke. They tell me that, well, you had another stroke. You need to go get some physical therapy. And that was the only thing they offered me. They didn't put me in the hospital. They didn't change my medicine.
Good.
Well, actually, they did change my medicine from aspirin. I failed a second time on the aspirin because I didn't want to go on their Xarelto. It was coming off. I went on that when I was coming off of Coumadin because I didn't want to do that because I wanted to eat my green vegetables on keto, and it was giving me some hallucinations and other things. It's probably a bad side effect of going on to Valium is what I was experiencing. But anyway,
Okay.
I'm coming off of Coumadin onto Xarelto, and I'm still having like these blood clots coming out of my lungs and nosebleeds. So I didn't want to go on Xarelto. So I didn't want to go on to Eliquis, so I just stayed on the aspirin. I had had this third stroke now. It was not a occipital stroke. I was almost blind. I mean, I could tell the difference between dark areas and light areas. but I couldn't focus on anything. I recognized the shapes, I could recognize faces. This is a wall, this is a doorway, but I was blind, essentially. And I couldn't drive. And I was that way for at least 3 to 4 more months before I could finally start to drive again. And, went through the physical therapy, tried to go to special eye doctors. I was prescribed some glasses and got some eye exercises to do, black and white letters on a paper. And none of it really helped. This knocked me back to, barely being able to walk again and, full recovery from the first 2 strokes, as well as recovering from this 3rd stroke now. And life became a nightmare again. I was still working with vocational rehab on starting up my business. And October comes around and they finally, since I started working with them in 2017, and it's now 2021, or no, I'm sorry, 2020. They approved my program, get me signed into it, and they're going to give me some equipment to help me start my business and get going on that. It was October 6th.
Okay.
Finally, a victory. And now, another thing I had been dealing with at this time is the numbness and spasticity in my leg was turning into pain and really distracting me from focusing on anything. So I'm like, man, it's okay. I'm getting approved for my business. I'll stay focused on that. I'll keep moving forward. I'll stay focused on my diet. And, during that meeting, I had to fake my way through it. I was in excruciating pain. And I'm like, but I want this victory. I'm strong enough. I've been strong enough to muscle my way through everything else with, physical therapy and my diet and everything. So I'm going to still push forward, just ignore this pain. So I signed my contract, got everything going there. So by the end of that month, I started having these lesions show up on my leg. And they were painful. And, I was talking with my mother, she's a nurse, and she's like, well, try soaking your foot in cold water for 10 to 15 minutes, and then putting it in warm water for 10 to 15 minutes, and then putting it back in cold water, going back and forth. So I started doing that. And I found that, soaking my foot in cold water was always the best. And so I still tried the warm sometimes, and these lesions started getting worse. And they started breaking the skin. And, eventually I tried putting my foot in a plastic bag so they wouldn't get wet at all when I was soaking in the cold water. And that started helping. Well, eventually I get to the point where the pain is so excruciating, I can't handle it. I go to the emergency room where I went for all my strokes and everything else, my usual one at Indiana University. And there's nothing that they do for me. I was barely able to get into the ER because, COVID. So I get sent out. Another 2 weeks go by. I try going to a different emergency room, and they think I'm only there to get drugs to deal with the pain and don't do anything for me. So they send me out, and I'm in, dire, excruciating pain. I go to another doctor, a specialist, who says I have complex regional pain syndrome.
Oh,
I'm like, what is this? I just, I don't even know what to do at this point. I'm in so much excruciating pain. And, she gets me crutches and gets me this special ointment medication that's supposed to help. I get set up to go to this special, I can't even remember what it's called, but get the special treatment where they put this injection in the nerve and it's supposed to, stop all the pain. Well, I never get into that before I'm back into the very first emergency room I went back in for this. And they finally look at things and they decide to admit me. I'm like, oh, thank God. And they're putting me on, some of the heaviest pain, Dilaudid, I think it's called. It's like one step before morphine. And it's allowing me to get maybe 15 minutes of sleep a night, maybe more than that. I was so out of it, I couldn't tell. I remember one night I'm having these awful dreams. I have to go to the bathroom. I get up and I'm sleepwalking, just dragging the IVs that are attached to me, not even bringing them along with me, trying to go to the bathroom. I stumble over, nurses come in, pick me up, get me, picked up, fix the IVs and everything. And I found out later that complex regional pain syndrome is called suicide disease, because you're in so much excruciating pain and you don't know what to do about it except for kill yourself to stop the pain. And that is really how excruciating the pain is.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
I don't know how I survived it. I have no idea how I honestly survived it, because there were times I really honestly was thinking about that. I'm like, I at that point only got through it because I'm like, I've been through depression. I've been through suicidal thoughts before. I've always been able to know that I can make it through this. This is just emotional feelings. I'm strong. I can make it through this.
You're a warrior.
Yeah. It was awful. Right.
So what happened next?
I'm in the hospital, totally blowing off my diet, eating what I want to eat. And I mean, that's all you can really eat in the hospital, because they don't know how to cater to a keto or carnivore or a specialty diet. I mean, maybe gluten-free from what I've seen.
Yeah, I understand. You definitely have to advocate for yourself.
Yeah. So my mother was helping me. I'm in the hospital. They finally decide to do a CAT scan on my leg. And they discover that all three of the arteries that are in the leg have been blocked off, and that from the atherosclerosis, and that there was one artery that actually was blocked off, and that I forgot to mention this part of the CPRS, one of my toes started turning really dark purple, almost black. Well, that toe was dying because all the blood flow was blocked off. So they immediately get me into surgery to put a stent in to try to get blood flow back to that toe. And all this does is put me in worse pain for the next 2 weeks. And I'm like, I thought, I was trying to look for some way to handle the CPRS. And, most of what I was found is, there's nothing you can do. There was some mirror therapy that one of the therapists I was seeing at the time was trying me to do. She said, well, this may help in about 3 or 4 months, maybe 5 longer. We really don't know. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, can we cut off my leg? Will that stop it? And, some of the forms I went into was like, no, that doesn't stop it. Nothing stops it. Try a suicide disease, nothing stops it. So I finally get to the point where I'm like talking to a doctor. It's like, can we just cut my leg off? The toe's dying anyway. I can get gangrene, and I've already tried to live this way, and I can't walk around. I can't maneuver my house. I can't go up and down the stairs. I can't cook. Nothing. I don't care if I have my leg. Cut it off.
Yeah, I hear you.
Cut it off. So the doctor went off, spent a few days talking to his other doctors, and came back and said, okay, we'll amputate it. And that was a huge sigh of relief. I didn't know if it would work. I just knew that I wanted to walk again, and, cutting my leg off was a way for me to walk again because I could get a prosthetic.
I hear you.
And it was around December. Yeah, it was December 14th that I went in for my surgery. They decided to amputate below my knee, right in the middle of my calf. So that way, I had enough to attach the prosthetic and the problem areas would be gone. They get rid of the clogged arteries from the atherosclerosis, and I'd be able to heal and recover. So I go in for surgery. They gave me a ketamine-based anesthetic. I came out hallucinating.
Oh, no.
Everybody and everything was a mechanic shop, and everybody had a car for a head.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
I could smell oil. It took me about a good minute to realize that I was hallucinating. And like, no, this is not reality. Someone told me that they went under that and came out, everything was Super Mario World. There were Goombas and turtles and everything all around. So I'm like, yeah, I don't want to go through this again.
Good grief.
So I go into recovery and, trying to cope with this now, learn what life is like going to be like without a leg, what kind of, therapy I had to do, and, getting the wound care. I was still in terrible pain from the surgery. And wait a second here.
Take your time. Take your time.
And, I'm in the hospital for about a month before they finally get me sent. No, not a month, about 2 weeks, because it was about Christmas time. I get into this therapy hospital to continue my care. And, while I was in the hospital, they're all like, well, you have to straighten your leg out all the way. And, my knee was getting locked up, bent like this. And, they're like, you have to stretch your way through that. You have to stretch your way through that. What was left of my calf was all swollen and in pain. It was excruciating. And they're like, you have to put this over your leg. And it was, this tight, this tight fabric, and I forget what they call it, but
I understand.
On top of the incision, which is incredibly sore too, I couldn't do it. So finally I learned that you don't have to do all this stuff. You don't have to do this. You try to straighten it out. I got it to the point where I could almost straighten it out for a little bit during the day, but it was still bending. It was still bending. And Christmas comes and I'm in this hospital, and none of my family is able to visit me that day because of the family Christmas party and stuff. And I get my wheelchair as my Christmas present. And I get kicked out of my roommate's house because he didn't want to take the liability of me falling down the stairs because I have no leg.
I understand.
So I get moved in with my brother, and my mother is staying with me, trying to help me with wound care. She was a wound care nurse years and years ago. And I just move on from there. I'm living in this tiny town that is literally just cornfields and truck stops. Nothing, no doctors, no doctors' offices that are, I'm a 2-hour drive away from, all my medical care, and, feeling real scared, trying to get back onto a keto diet. And
yeah, so through all this time, you were just eating the standard American diet.
While I was in the hospital, yes.
Yeah. So now you're trying to get back on keto.
Yes. And it's not working too well. I was, incredibly hard pressed at the time. So my brother said, well, I'll buy your food and everything and take care of you. So I was eating more of what he was cooking, which really was a standard American diet, full of potatoes and just, breads. And, I tried to eat as little of that as I could, but, they told me in the hospital, eat as much protein as you can. So I was trying that and trying to get back on keto, trying to learn how to live my life again without this leg now. Plus, still recovering from the previous strokes while still having MS, while still having the IBS and everything else. It's
and the CPRS.
Well, the complex regional pain syndrome, CPRS. That really, really kind of stopped after the surgery.
Really?
Yeah. My leg was gone. All the lesions and blisters and the toe and all the arteries that were clogged, they were gone. So my blood could flow normal again. And the CPRS had stopped. So thanks for asking about that.
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. You're keeping me on track.
Trying. I want people to hear the rest of the story because I know it ends well.
Yeah. So moving on, I'm recovering. My mom's taking care of my wound. I'm starting to get braver, more confident with my abilities. Okay. I'm going through life with a walker now and my wheelchair. One night I left my wheelchair out in the dining room. I'm in the middle, it's middle of the night. I get up with my walker. I'm going around. I'm not real familiar with the house, but I know, okay, this is the hallway. This is my doorway. I left my wheelchair here. I go to turn around in the walker and I go to sit down in the wheelchair. I reach my arm back. I feel the arm and I go to sit down and I fall on the floor. and I fall over and I catch myself on the table and my incision hits the ground and splits open. I had grabbed the left side of the wheelchair and I thought I was going to sit down to the left, but the wheelchair was off to the right. So there was no wheelchair for me to sit in. And, you know, this is early January. And I go to my surgeon in Indianapolis. He cleans it up with iodine and everything. And, you know, says, okay, well, we'll keep an eye on this and see what happens. You know, it wasn't a big split or anything like that. And, you know, as the weeks and days are going on, it's starting to get, you know, start to drain a little bit more and not look as nice. And I'm thinking at this point, you know, they'll put on a vacuum. I forget what they call it, but, you know, it vacuums out constantly to draw the fluid out. And they didn't do that. You know, the surgeon didn't do anything. He's like, I think you'll be okay. We'll wait and see what happens. Well, 2 weeks go by. I'm in excruciating pain again. I'm going to the emergency room. They're doing the testing. They're like, oh, yeah, this is infected. They put me on the strongest antibiotic that they could find. It's the kind that they give to MRSA patients. And that started helping with the pain. So I'm like, this is weird. Okay. So I'm trying to get into my physical therapist, the only one in the state of Indiana that I could go to. So it's the end of February by the time I get in to see her. And, you know, she takes one look at my leg and says, get over to the ER right now. What are you doing here? Get over to the ER. I go over there. They want to amputate my leg again. They want to amputate it. They say, you know, we can't clean this out. The infection is too deep. Your only choice is to amputate. We can go through the knee or above the knee. I didn't want to deal with a through the middle of my knee amputation. After what I went through with that one, I'm like, just go above the knee. So February 28th, I had to go through a second amputation on my leg because they did not properly take care of the incision when I first went in and just let it go.
Wow.
So I now have a second amputation above my knee. And I have to go through wound care all over again. And I have to go through recovery all over again, along with everything else all over again.
And recovering from 3 strokes, and your determination is so inspiring.
It's even beyond me at this point. I don't get it. I don't know why I keep on going. Well,
so what happens next?
What happens next is I get through recovery. I get my prosthetic, and I decide I'm not going to go through Indiana winters with this wheelchair and prosthetic leg. So I'm going to move back to Tucson, Arizona, where there's no snow, there's no ice, there's no winter. I love the heat anyway. It's going to get me out of this awful humidity of being in Indiana. I'm needing a break from my family at this point in time. So
I hear you.
You know, I'll just continue my recovery down there and learn how to live without a leg down there. So I get my prosthetic leg. It's September. I moved down here to Arizona, and you know, life is finally able to shift. I'm able to get back on my ketogenic diet completely, fully. And I'm like, yes, I like this. I was 220 pounds when they got me my prosthetic leg. That was the last time I had really gotten a good weight measurement. So I went from being down to 190 again on keto when I moved out of that apartment. And, that's where I was pretty much holding it till I got in the hospital and went through the amputation, went from 190 back up to 220. I'm living here in Arizona now, back on keto. I lose 30 pounds that first month I'm here.
Wow.
I'm back down to the 190. And I'm like, trying to get into a doctor to really get my medical care established. And I get into this, I'm looking for a functional medicine doctor. I'm like, I'm done with traditional doctors. I'm done with the pill for a symptom.
I hear you.
I wanted to try a functional medicine doctor. So that's who I'm getting into seeing. That is who I got into see, a functional medicine doctor. So he, I was having terrible stomach pains at this point, even though I was, avoiding all nightshades and, I was still eating some fruit every now and then because I had gotten addicted to apples while I was in Indiana. The medication that they had me on from the amputations recovery was
Just made you like crave sugar?
No. It was an opiate, one of the strongest opiates.
Oh.
I can't remember the name of it. It was like beyond
Morphine.
Yeah, it was beyond morphine. It's what they give heroin addicts to help break them.
Like Copaxone or not Copaxone. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Suboxone.
Yeah, it was not Suboxone, but it was along the same lines of that level of seriousness. It makes you horribly, horribly constipated. So I got addicted to apples to help keep me regular.
Okay.
I was also on their medication, but the apples really, really helped. I mean, it really helped keep me regular and kept me cleared off. And, I got off the medication and got off a lot of the other medication eventually before I moved to Arizona. And, I needed to at least make sure I stayed on my Eliquis for the anticoagulant, since I obviously couldn't do aspirin. So I get into this functional medicine doctor because of all this stomach pain I'm in, and he says, well, I think it's H. pylori, gives me a test. Wasn't that. So I'm back at home, focusing on staying on keto, and he gives me the autoimmune protocol diet. I'm sitting there looking at this diet and I'm like, I can't do this diet. It's full of a lot of the foods that I know that I can't have. So I don't know what to do at this point. I go on a trial. I decided to go on a trial carnivore diet. I'm like, let's see what this does.
How did you hear about carnivore?
I had done a trial of it after my first stroke. I did a 1-month trial of carnivore because I found out about that from Dr. Ken Berry at the first time I started keto.
Got it.
Like if you're having a weight loss stall, which I very much was, and I still had a big belly and still having all my problems. I'm like, I still want to lose weight. So he's like, try a month of carnivore and see how that helps. And that did. That's what finally got me down from 220 down to 190.
Okay. So this second time that you did carnivore, what was that experience like?
Okay, this time, because I had just moved here, I was extremely, extremely tight budgeted, and I had to go to food shelters. So I was getting the worst of the worst meat that you could possibly get. And I was still doing, how there's like dirty keto?
Yeah.
I want to call this dirty carnivore.
Okay.
Because you're eating all the worst of the processed meats, the worst of the, there was still some chicken, some, hot dogs and sausage and pork. There was a whole variety of these meats, and still doing bacon, still doing seasonings like pepper and, I've come to find out most bacon has paprika in it, which, doing all this and, still doing the few apples and stuff that I was doing was probably why my stomach was tearing up. I go onto this diet, this carnivore diet, and I started losing far more weight. I mean, far more weight. And, but I'm still having these reactions. I'm like, well, is it fat that I'm reacting to? So I tried to eliminate chicken, because the way I did that was, I would boil it for a few hours to get the collagen out of all the bones and everything, and make some really, really amazing chicken broth. I mean, it was incredible. And all this was still causing my stomach to hurt. So I'm like, let's try eliminating a lot of the fat from the chicken. And then, come to find out, I'm, over at my girlfriend's house now. I started a food journal from when the doctor had given me the autoimmune protocol. So I go back and I check through all my through my diet. I'm like, the most recent thing I had eaten was my vegetable beef soup. So I make a mental note of that. And as we're going on, I was over at my girlfriend's house one day, and she had been telling me about all the eczema that Henry had been having. I'm like, why does he have eczema? And, I kind of, made a mental note of that. A couple of days later, I went over there again. She had given him these diced up nectarines, fresh, just got it from the store. They were still kind of raw. And he was like, why is my mouth sore? Why does my mouth hurt? And he goes like this. And I'm like, And then he gets this little line rash on his face a couple days later. And she tells me again about the eczema that he has. So I'm like, what causes eczema? So I go to watch Dr. Ken Berry. He has a special about eczema. And as he's talking about it, he's like, talking about it's potentially salicylates, if not directly, at least indirectly. So I'm like, what's a salicylate? So I go and I look up what's a salicylate. It's aspirin, salicylic acid. So I'm like, wait a minute, do these vegetables that I just had all this vegetable beef soup in have salicylates in it? Yes, they do. So why my blood is so thin?
Wow.
So I find out about this salicylate intolerance, and I'm like learning all these vegetables have salicylates in it. I'm like, okay, I gotta eliminate these. Wait a minute. While I'm searching about this, I find this website about talking about salicylates and how it's connected to fibromyalgia and how you got to eliminate all these skincare products. These skincare products are made from plants, which have salicylates, so they're amplified as well. So I go on this mad crazy, get rid of all my cleaners, get rid of all my soaps, get rid of my toothpaste, all the lotions. And my panic attacks start going away.
What are you eating at this point?
I am, this is also the time where I decide to try to go on the Lion diet. This is the drastic change. I find out, well, I'm probably allergic to histamine because I can't have broth. Histamine goes right along with salicylates too. It's kind of a paired thing. I find this histamine salicylate group specifically for how they're both paired. So I eliminate as many histamines as I can, change the way that I'm cooking my meat so that way it's low histamine. And I'm literally doing just ground beef. I simmer it in my pot so that it's boiled, essentially, which lowers the histamines. And I add salt. I eliminated all products, and I learned to make my own soap out of beef tallow. So I'm using beef tallow soap in the shower, only using water to brush my teeth. I tried doing baking soda and peroxide, but that started, really irritating my gums. It was really great at first, but the baking soda is salt. Putting salt in an open wound is going to irritate your wounds. But so I'm doing literally just water for toothpaste. I'm doing free and clear laundry detergent from Arm & Hammer. I really don't want to do it because it's full of sodium lauryl sulfate, which I found out is in Eliquis. I found out what sodium lauryl sulfate is. It's industrial soap, which I coined the phrase when I found out what a salicylate was and what salicylic acid is. It's soap, it's detergent. It breaks down fat. So I started calling salicylates vitamin soap. I'm not getting vitamin C with this vegetable. I'm getting vitamin soap.
I love it.
So that's what this medication is. That's what this laundry detergent is, but it's the only thing I can tolerate on my skin. And I haven't found, something suitable to replace it with. And I don't want to do just water because carnivore diet, I have really oily skin. It's staining my sheets. I want to have something to try to break down that fat. But it's just enough now. I don't have the numbness from multiple sclerosis or the panic attacks anymore. I don't have the panic attacks anymore. I don't have the IBS anymore. Because I've got rid of the histamines, I don't have dizzy spells anymore from the MS. I don't have the extreme fatigue anymore from the MS. I can exercise now. I can build muscle. My left arm, which has been fatigued, or I should say atrophied, no muscle at all. I can barely use my left arm at all. Nothing in my left shoulder. I can work out with it again. There's muscle being built there again.
That's
this
amazing.
is the victory.
That's
This is
amazing.
what diet has done. This
That's
is what
amazing.
making those changes I have done has accomplished.
Wow.
And
So
that's the end of my story.
that's the end of your story. That's the beginning of your story, Nate. Oh my goodness. That's the beginning of your story. The fact that you're still here, the fact that you're still researching, that you're still finding out about vitamin soap, it's just absolutely so inspiring to me, because there's so many people who come up against these obstacles and they're like, oh yeah, I can't do this. I can't do this. Oh yeah, no, I can't do this. No, I need to go to my doctor. You persevered over every single possible. I mean, my mind is blown hearing your story. Like, I thought I knew your story before we talked, but now I am just in absolute awe of you. I feel that you are one of the most brilliant people that I have ever met in my life, because the fact that you are still fighting and that you are still strong and that you are still trying is amazing. But I think that's what got you to this moment. You didn't quit.
I did not quit. I want to tell another little victory here.
Okay, we've got 2 minutes.
No, this is just a little thing. I'm down to 165 pounds
Wow.
from 190. Okay, when I first came here, I weighed 220. I'm down to 165 pounds right now, which is what I weighed when I graduated high school.
Wow.
I haven't been this weight since I was 30. That's when all the bad
amazing.
stuff started happening. Got diagnosis of the hypoglycemia and started the bad diet, started the whole journey down this road of hell.
Absolutely.
But I'm finally back down to this weight. I can finally exercise again to build strength, to build muscle again, while on this diet, which everybody says you lose protein on this diet. One other big important thing I am doing now also is I am fasting. I have worked my way up to 24-hour fasts, 2 or 3 days a week, maybe 4, doing 1 meal a day is what I'm trying to do. And this is, I feel now, when I do a fast and then I eat, I can feel all the fat, all the ketones rushing to my head, doing all this magic tingly stuff.
That's so great.
Wait to get into the doctor, to get an MRI and say, see how much has been reversed from the strokes. Because I know that's what is happening now. And
the fat, I found the fat is key.
Yeah. I try to be as high fat as I can. The higher fat I do, the more diarrhea I have. And I just found out yesterday, in fact, just yesterday, that there's still a condition where, your body doesn't process from the gallbladder, the bile properly, and you're leaking bile. I've had some issues with my guts, ileitis, I think like that. So that might have something to do with it, but you're leaking bile still. So when your fat gets down into your intestine, it gives you diarrhea because you can't absorb the water properly. So I've got to figure out a way to get through that. But I want to be high fat. I feel it. I mean, I can feel it healing my brain. I can feel it healing my body. And I can't wait to get my blood tests. I can't wait to get to a doctor, which is going to start in July when my insurance finally starts, Part B Medicare.
You know what I can't wait for? I can't wait to continue to watch you heal. This has been absolutely incredible. And Nate, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you so much for doing this. I cannot imagine how exhausting this is for you to relive this, for you to share with us your absolute hell. And I want to thank you so much. And I know that this story is going to encourage other people to not quit, to keep pushing to find the answer of what works for them.
Yes, yes, yes.
So thank you so much. And how can people follow your story?
I have taken to really going into the Lion Diet group.
Okay.
On Facebook.
Okay.
I do a lot of chats throughout that. I am on there multiple times every day, talking to other people, trying to encourage them, give them advice. Well, the Lion Diet is a carnivore diet. Listen to Ken Berry. He'll help you with the carnivore part. And, I put my story up there. You can follow me on Facebook if you want.
And that's under Nathaniel Lineberry.
Under Nathaniel Lineberry. Yes.
Okay. Nate, can you please say that again?
All right. It was commented to me that, it was so wonderful how I found the answer to my problems when I was looking for an answer to my girlfriend's son problem. And there is an answer to your problems. You have to look for them, but you will not find the answer if you stop looking.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate your patience and everybody's patience here. I love that we were able to take this into two parts, because I know that it was a lot of stress on your voice and your your energy to do all of this. And so I'm so glad that we were able to just break it down and to hear your story. So thank you, Nate.
You're very welcome.
All right, guys, have a good Saturday, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nate.
You're so welcome.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the group. There is always so much beauty in being transparent and in really recognizing that we're all not alone on this journey. And so if you want to, feel free to join the Saturday support groups. They're every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And if you need more individualized care, then reach out to me and email me at innerclaritysystem@gmail.com. And I would love to walk through and show you what it looks like to work with me one-on-one.